All right. What's going on, everyone? Aaron here, Clean Cuts Lawn Care. It is Monday morning. It's 7:55. I'm leaving the shop. I've been at the shop since about 6:20. My 52-inch Skag, the walk behind, it's been giving me problems sporadically this year with not starting. The first time it happened, I cleaned up the carburetor, I replaced the fuel filter, I replaced the fuel lines. Still wasn't starting. Then with a little bit of starting fluid, it did start. It's happened 2 more times. I've gotten lucky and got it started once again, and now it's doing it again. So I took apart the float bowl. I made sure everything was working in there. I cleaned that out. Brand new filter. I even the fuel tank, oh man, the grommet in the fuel tank was actually leaking, so I was wondering if maybe it wasn't getting enough fuel into the lines to start. I replaced the grommet, I replaced the shutoff valve, fuel lines again, fuel filter again. I took the spark plug out, cleaned it. So it's still not starting up. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a brand new spark plug, which that thing is pretty much brand new. And I'm going to remove the whole carburetor, clean out all the jets, and if that doesn't work, then I don't have any more time to spend on that mower. But whatever I get, it needs to be cost effective, man. From repairs I've done myself and repairs I didn't have time to do this year, truck wise, whatever. I mean, I did a lot of them myself. There was, I think, twice I had to put the truck in the shop. Just everything, cost of the business, everything. I'm not willing to go out and spend 10-15 grand on a mower or have payments the rest of my life. It's not going to happen right now. All right, so if I haven't shown it yet, this is the C26-2 speed feed head. Throughout my years, I've tried multiple speed feed heads, and I just have not found one that I like until now. This, like I said, it says it's for still. It might fit other ones. I really don't know. But it's easy to load. It's quick. I almost bought the Echo 400, but I ended up going with this one. All right, so this is the one I just put a carburetor on. It is aftermarket, and you can see because it has its own choke lever. Now this still does shut off access in here, but I think it's just better to use the attached one because it has internal components. But I mean, it's running fine. So as far as that speed feed head goes, I ordered it on Amazon. There's some sellers that wanted $65 for one head. There was other sellers that wanted $30 for one speed feed head. I found a 2-pack of them for $31, I think. So I ordered 2 of them. When I got them, the first thing I was surprised with was, for one, exactly how big they were and heavy. They are heavy. So I was a little concerned with that because that trimmer is already heavy, which I've spoke about before, which is the reason, one of the reasons I tried out that DeWalt, which in time I will get more batteries for. I actually, believe it or not, I liked that DeWalt trimmer. You know, once I get more batteries, I'm going to use it more. But the C26-2, once I put it on, yeah, of course you feel the extra weight of it, but when you're actually using it, like especially when you're trimming along, you know, whatever, or you know, in a certain area, it really disperses the weight. It's hard to explain and say this correctly. It seems like it disperses the weight pretty nice, and it's very, very smooth. Which, yeah, all trimmer heads should be, but man, it's really hard to explain. As you're trimming, you know, you don't feel the weight as much as you would think you would, and the smoothness of it, which of course, yes, I keep my my trimmer greased and everything, which, you know, that helps with that. But I was pleasantly surprised, even with the weight of it, just how it feels while being used. You know, it doesn't feel as heavy as it is. It's really nice and smooth. The loading is as easy as you would expect it to be with it being a speed feed. You just line up, there's some spots on the bottom, you line it up so it's a straight line, you push the line through, and you just click it. I still had, when I ordered that, I still had my original head on it that came with the trimmer, which you had to open it up, just like my old Husqvarna, the 525Ls, which that one I really didn't mind. That one was very easy to load, even though you had to open the head up. With this one, you needed 2 separate pieces of string. You had to wind each section individually, as opposed to like the one that comes on the 525L. You don't. You just get the string, you fold it in half, you wrap it around a loop, and then you feed it and you're done. With this one, it was really annoying. So when I cut my string, because I always have my string pre-rolled like this in my door, this would have to be in 2 pieces, not 1. So that's why I finally said, you know what, I gotta try out another speed feed head, and that's the one I tried out, and I'm happy I did. So I have the one that's on it. I have an extra one at the shop for when I get another trimmer eventually. The DeWalt already has one on it, which is nice. It works, so there's no point in putting that one on. So just wanted to talk about it. I'll show a little bit more of it, which of course is just the trimmer head. You know, it's not like it's a piece of equipment that I'm showing you, but yeah, I'll show you. I'm not exactly certain how much string you can get out of it, which of course I don't have a guard on, but I would imagine at least 17 inches comfortably. The head that came with it only allowed you like 15 inches. And of course I'm not going to overdo it to where I'm putting pressure on the trimmer itself, the engine. But yeah, I like it, and I'm certain that's what I'm gonna stick with, because any gas held equipment that we purchase from here on out will only be still. I'm done with purchasing Red Max or Husqvarna or, you know, anything like that. We're only purchasing still from this point out when it comes to our handheld equipment. so I went ahead and answered it. I normally don't answer while I'm working, but it was a customer, so I answered it. And man, listen to this shit. So the guy calls me and he says, hey, this weekend I got a flyer for a lawn care company. He said they were passing them out all up and down the streets in my area. Now, I'm in his area, okay? I just passed his house. I checked a few of the streets right, you know, parallel to him. There's not one flyer anywhere. Now, I've passed out flyers, and I have seen my flyers for a week, you know, like in some of the houses. Not every house, you know, did they take the flyer for days. So I went up and down like 3 or 4 streets just now, not one flyer anywhere. So, but he goes, just out of curiosity, you know, I seen the guy, I was talking to him, he gave me the flyer, and he said he quoted me for $20 a week, full service mowing. So, now I don't believe that he talked to anyone. I don't believe this about the flyers. Like I said, I didn't find even one flyer all up and down these streets. But he, but okay, I'll play the game. So I said, oh, okay. I said, well, that's a hell of a deal. I said, if you look at it, I said, if he mows it every week, I said, you're going to save $70 a month. I said, and you look at that over the course of a whole mowing season, I said, that's $500, almost. So, he goes, yeah, but, you know, I want to keep you. That's why I'm calling you, to see what you can do with the price. Now, remember, I told you before, I don't play the price game either way. Okay, I don't lower it in order to get or keep an account, and I don't take advantage of people and give them some astronomical number because their back's against the wall. So I go, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, but I'll tell you what, I said, don't worry about me. Okay, I said, a deal like that, full service, weekly mowing, I said, you can't pass that up, I know. And I said, now keep in mind, ever since we moved a few years ago, I don't have my own yard to mow. Okay, not until we buy another house. But he don't know that. So I said, I really prefer not to mow my own yard. I said, and I live, you know, pretty close to you. I said, so why don't you ask the guy if he's willing to take on any more, and he can come mow mine as well. I said, or just shoot me his phone number. I said, I'll hire him too. And he goes, well, you know, the kid said his schedule is pretty full. Really, his schedule is pretty full, but he's laying out flyers all up and down the neighborhood. Where does that make sense at all? That's how I know for sure. There is no one. There was no flyers. No one told you $20 a week. Just say the truth. Hey, I need a discount. You're not going to get one, but at least, you know, don't make up this bullshit. So I said, no, sorry, there's nothing I can do about your price. You know, but like I said, I don't blame you for, you know, if you want to switch services, because that's a hell of a deal. And he goes, well, I need to think about it. You know, you guys are always on time. You do great service. Now, typically, I would just drop them, okay, for this nonsense. However, that last video I put out, it was just me talking. We've lost quite a few customers that have passed on. And I have dropped a number of customers. You know, and like I said, the phone is not ringing right now. So I'm not just going to drop him right now. But he really thought he was going to, like, pull a fast one on me. No, absolutely not, dude. So I ended up doing an extra 3 properties today because I'm solo all week. So I'm gonna do an extra 3 tomorrow, an extra 3 Wednesday. You know, that way by near the end of the week, you know, I'm further ahead. Because, you know, Robbie won't be in. All right, leaving the shop. So yeah, I'm trying to, you know, make sure I stay ahead this week. You know, because once I get to the bigger properties, it's going to be a lot harder to make sure I get done this week. So now the guy from earlier, he texted me and he said, hey Aaron, don't even worry about it, don't think about it. You know, we're gonna stay with you. You know, sorry I even bothered you. Okay, good. You know, because like I said, there was no flyer, there was no whatever. He was just trying to get his price dropped. Literally less than an hour later, I got a message from, you're welcome. I got a message from a customer who we got earlier this year, middle of April. So they've been our customer for a little over 3 months, but she told me right away she didn't think it was going to be all year. I told her that's fine, but I said once we start a month and we have 1 mow in, I said you're going to be responsible for that whole month. So today was going to be the first mow of the month, and she texted me and canceled, said her family gave her a mower over the weekend, which, like I said, I figured that was going to be the case. So that sucks, you know, lost another one there. And I actually had it before they bought the house. The person who lived there owned it, was an elderly lady and moved out, and her daughter was like managing the house. Ended up hiring us, this was a couple years ago, hiring us, and then halfway through the year she said, oh, the house is about to sell, so you know, we're gonna go ahead and cancel the mowing and the new owners can take care of it. The house didn't sell at all for the rest of the year, and then in late October it hadn't been mowed 1 time in 3 months and some change, and she reached back out to me and said, oh, can you mow it 1 more time before you know, mowing season is over? And I said no, not gonna do that. So the next spring the new owners bought it, which was last spring. I did give them a price and everything, but they weren't interested. They hired someone else, and then at some point throughout the year that company was gone, and then this year asked us to take over, which we did. But like I said, I figured it wasn't going to be all year, so it is what it is. But like I said, we've lost a good amount of customers, and that's not counting the ones that I've dropped myself, because they were problem customers. So, but all right, I'm heading home. Pretty tired. It's not late, but it's kind of late. You know, I don't really try to work late, but this week that's what it's going to be. So, all right guys, if you like the video, hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, let me know everything I'm doing wrong, and keep them edges clean, boys. I'm out.